Welcome to the Stoic Tide. Have you ever noticed that the harder you chase someone, the further they seem to run? It's one of the oldest dynamics in human behavior, and yet most men fall into the same trap over and over again. They think more attention will bring closeness, but in reality it often does the opposite. The truth is, silence, space, and self-control speak louder than endless chasing ever could. And when you learn to master that, you shift the power back where it belongs within you. In this video, we'll break down 11 powerful reasons why ignoring her works better than chasing, and how this approach, grounded in timeless Stoic principles, changes everything. Number 1, when silence says it all. Chasing often buries your value under noise. The more you talk, text, explain, and reach, the less she feels the weight of your presence. But when you go silent, something changes. She notices what's no longer there. It's like walking into a room where music has always been playing, and suddenly it stops. That silence hits different. At first, she may act unfazed, scrolling through her phone, posting like usual, pretending your absence doesn't affect her. But silence has a way of creeping into the spaces where noise once lived. Over time, that quiet starts echoing. She remembers how you used to check in, how your energy was always there, consistent and reliable. And now, without you filling the air, there's a gap she can't ignore. Think about it. When you chase, you unintentionally lower your value in her eyes. Every text sent without response, every explanation you give, every attempt to make things right, reinforces the idea that she's the prize and you're the pursuer. But when you go quiet, not out of manipulation but out of self-respect, you shift the entire dynamic. Suddenly, she's the one left to sit with her thoughts. She's the one replaying moments, wondering why the rhythm changed. Picture this. You used to message her every morning, every night, keeping the connection alive single-handed. One day you stop. You decide you're done chasing something that doesn't flow naturally. Days pass. She checks her notifications out of habit, expecting your name to appear, but nothing. She scrolls through old conversations, noticing how many blue bubbles were yours. She lingers a little longer on your profile, wondering why it suddenly feels quieter without you. That's the power of absence. It forces emotional reflection that chasing never can. The Stoics understood this deeply. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Silence is a lesson learned through life's many sufferings." A Stoic man doesn't rush to fill every silence out of fear. He allows reality to unfold in the quiet. Epictetus often reminded his students that true power lies in controlling one's impulses, not reacting at every turn, but standing firm and letting others reveal themselves through their responses to your stillness. When you embrace silence, you're not playing games. You're choosing to stop feeding a dynamic that drains your energy and self-worth. And here's the thing, silence has clarity built into it. If she values you, she will notice. She'll reflect. She might reach out. Or at the very least, she'll feel the shift. If she doesn't, then your silence simply exposes what chasing was, masking all along that the connection was one-sided. By holding your ground, you protect your dignity and give her the space to either step forward or fade away. Either outcome gives you truth, and truth is always more powerful than endless noise. Number 2, take back your energy. Every time you chase, you hand over emotional energy. You become dependent on her reactions to feel validated. But when you stop and turn that energy inward into your purpose, your fitness, your goals, the dynamic shifts. She starts to sense it. Your focus becomes magnetic. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. When your energy is grounded in you, chasing becomes unnecessary." Think about it this way. Imagine a man who, after being ignored, spends his nights refreshing her Instagram stories, drafting messages, and replaying every conversation in his mind. His thoughts revolve around her approval. His emotional state rises and falls with her responses or her silence. He's essentially given her the keys to his inner peace. But now imagine that same man deciding to stop instead of checking his phone every 5 minutes. He hits the gym. He starts waking up earlier, focusing on his craft, reconnecting with friends, and setting personal standards. Slowly, his world stops revolving around her and starts revolving around his mission. This is where ignoring becomes powerful, not as a game, but as a redirection of energy. Stoicism teaches us that we cannot control others, only ourselves. By pulling back, you're not punishing her. You're reclaiming what's yours. Your attention is like sunlight. When you chase, you concentrate all that warmth in one spot, hoping it makes her grow. But when you step back, that light spreads over your life. And ironically, that's when she often starts noticing the glow she once took for granted. Over time, this shift changes the entire emotional landscape. She starts wondering why your energy feels different, why your presence isn't wrapped around her anymore. The same silence she once dismissed now makes her curious. And the best part, you're no longer stuck waiting for a reaction. You're living. You're becoming. You're leading your own story again. That's why ignoring works better than chasing, because it's not really about her at all. It's about you stepping back into your power. What you just heard isn't a quick trick. It's a complete shift in how you use your energy as a man. Most people keep pouring their attention into places that give nothing back, and then wonder why they feel drained. But the moment you redirect that energy inward, everything changes. Your focus sharpens, your presence strengthens, and without even trying, you become the kind of man who doesn't chase because he leads his own life. If this resonates with you, hit that like button to support the channel. It really helps spread this message, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. How have you experienced this shift in your own life? Drop a comment below and share your story, or simply type, "I'm taking my power back," to anchor it in. Now let's keep going. Number 3, distance sparks curiosity. Availability kills mystery. When you step back calmly without drama, it creates a question mark in her mind. She wonders, why isn't he reacting like everyone else? That subtle change unsettles her because it's not what she's used to. Most men, when faced with emotional distance from a woman, panic. They start texting more, explaining themselves, trying to fix something that might not even be broken. They chase not out of strength but out of fear. Fear of losing her, fear of silence, fear of being forgotten. But when you don't follow that script, when you remain composed and centered, you break the cycle that feeds her ego and expectations. Suddenly you become unpredictable, and unpredictability sparks curiosity. Think of it like this. When a song keeps playing on repeat, people eventually stop noticing it. But the moment it stops, the silence hits harder than the music ever did. That's exactly what happens when you pull back your presence. She got used to your attention being constant. The good morning texts, the quick replies, the little check-ins. But when those disappear, not out of bitterness but out of inner strength, her mind starts to wander. Where is he? Why isn't he chasing? Did he lose interest, or did I lose something valuable? That inner questioning is where curiosity begins to grow. Your silence isn't emptiness. It's a mirror that makes her reflect. This is where emotional control becomes powerful. Stoicism teaches that we should never be slaves to impulse. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." When you're able to hold your ground instead of reacting emotionally, you display rare strength in a world where most people respond to every pull with instant obedience. Your calm distance shows that your attention is not cheap, it's earned. And when your energy is no longer easily accessible, it becomes valuable in her eyes. Picture this scenario. She expects that if she pulls away a little, you'll come running. Maybe she delays replies or becomes vague. But instead of you chasing, you quietly shift your focus back to yourself, your goals, your purpose, your growth. You're not posting passive-aggressive stories, not sending long emotional messages. You're simply living fully. She notices that change. Days later, she's checking your social media more than usual, rereading old messages or subtly reaching out with a casual, "Hey, that's not by accident." Your distance created space for her desire to breathe, and here's the deeper truth. Ignoring isn't about manipulation. It's about alignment. It's about refusing to invest in someone who isn't meeting you halfway. Stoic men understand that their worth doesn't depend on someone else's attention. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself." That means you don't chase what drifts away. You remain loyal to your standards. Your calm withdrawal speaks volumes, and in that silence, her mind does the chasing. While others are out there frantically trying to hold on, you become the one she can't stop thinking about. Not because you begged for it, but because your distance reminded her of your value. Number 4, ego versus emotion. When you chase, you feed her ego, not her heart. She gets the thrill of validation without giving anything meaningful in return. It's like handing her emotional gifts for free, again and again, until your presence becomes something expected, not valued. But when you stop, when you pull back with calmness instead of bitterness, something inside her shifts. She can no longer lean on your pursuit as a cushion. Suddenly she's left alone with her thoughts. And that's when the real test begins. She has to face a question she might have been avoiding all along. Did I actually care about him, or was I just enjoying the attention? Think about it. When a man keeps chasing, texting, calling, or proving himself, a woman doesn't have to do the hard work of examining her feelings. She can sit comfortably in a space where her ego is constantly being fed. She doesn't need to miss you because she never has the chance to. But when that flow of attention dries up, her emotional landscape changes. The silence forces her to reflect. Was the connection genuine, or was it just her ego enjoying the spotlight? This is where Stoicism makes all the difference. A Stoic man doesn't beg for clarity. He lets reality speak through action, not words. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The truth is simple. If you remove your opinions, what remains will speak for itself." Instead of trying to control her perception or manipulate her response, he steps back and lets the natural consequences unfold. His silence isn't an act of revenge. It's a mirror that reflects her true feelings back to her. Imagine this scenario. You used to message her every morning and she'd reply whenever she felt like it, knowing you'd always be there. But one day you stop. A few days pass. She scrolls through your stories more than usual. She starts to wonder why your energy isn't centered on her anymore. Maybe she sends a casual message, a hey, or a reaction testing the waters. At first, it's ego missing the attention. But if real emotion exists, something deeper happens. She starts making genuine efforts not out of habit but out of concern and interest. Ignoring her works because it removes the noise. It separates the surface-level ego boost from authentic emotional attachment. If it was just her ego, she'll fade when the attention disappears. But if there's real emotion, it will reveal itself through her actions once the comfort of being chased is gone. A Stoic man understands this deeply. He doesn't force love to happen, nor does he chase clarity in chaos. He remains grounded, observing silently, knowing that time and distance have a way of exposing what words often hide. In that stillness, the truth always surfaces. Your silence becomes the filter that reveals whether she truly cared, or if she only cared about being desired. Number 5, calm beats desperation. Neediness is loud. Self-control is attractive. Ignoring her isn't playing games. It's choosing calm over desperation. When emotions rise, many men panic. They think if they just explain more, text faster, or prove their worth louder, she'll suddenly change her mind. But in reality, that desperation only pushes her further away. Chasing feels like pressure. It makes her feel like she holds all the power, and ironically, it removes the very sense of respect and mystery that attracted her in the first place. Imagine this. A guy gets distant and she starts to wonder if he's lost interest, if he suddenly floods her with texts, calls, and explanations. She doesn't feel desire. She feels overwhelmed. But if he remains composed, if he doesn't break his frame, something shifts. His calmness creates space. It gives her mind room to wander, to reflect, to question. And in that space, curiosity and emotion often grow stronger than any words could. Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This Stoic principle applies perfectly here. You can't control how she feels or behaves, but you can control your reactions. When you stop letting your impulses run the show, you reclaim your power. You stop playing emotional tug-of-war, and instead stand firmly in your own presence. That quiet composure has weight. It communicates that your self-worth isn't up for negotiation. You're not begging for validation. You're simply choosing to respond like a man who values his peace. And this is exactly why ignoring her often works better than chasing, because silence from a calm, centered man speaks louder than any argument, explanation, or emotional outburst. It's not about manipulation. It's about self-mastery. Calm isn't passive. It's powerful. It's the difference between a man who reacts out of fear and a man who responds from strength. When she sees that you're not rattled, not begging, not losing yourself over her behavior, she starts to feel something she didn't expect. Respect. And respect is the foundation on which real attraction is built. Before we move on, take a moment to reflect on this. How many times have emotions made you act from fear rather than strength? We've all been there, wanting to explain, to fix, to make someone see our worth. But true power comes when you can stay grounded even as your feelings rise. That's the mark of a man who leads himself, not one led by impulse. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you ever experienced a moment where staying calm changed everything? Share your experience in the comments below. Your perspective might inspire someone who needs to hear it. Number 6, space makes her think. When you stop chasing, you give her something rare in modern dating. Time to reflect. The silence makes emotions echo louder. Memories resurface. Doubts appear. What once felt like a predictable flow suddenly shifts and she's left alone with her thoughts. Imagine this. She's used to waking up to your messages, those little check-ins that gave her ego a warm start to the day. She didn't have to wonder if you cared. Your constant presence answered that question for her. But when that pattern disappears, even quietly, it's like someone turned off the background music she didn't realize she'd grown attached to. At first, she might rationalize it, thinking you're just busy or distracted. But as the hours turn into days, that quiet begins to carry weight. It makes her notice the absence she once overlooked. This is where your stillness becomes more powerful than any chase. A Stoic man understands that clarity often emerges not through pressure, but through space. Epictetus taught that we shouldn't try to control others, only ourselves. So instead of demanding answers, he steps back and lets time do the talking. Silence becomes a mirror, forcing her to look at her own feelings without your constant input.
She begins to question, was I enjoying him or just the attention?
That's a question chasing would never allow her to confront. Chasing keeps her distracted. Silence forces introspection. Think of it like planting a seed. You don't stand over it yelling, grow. You give it space, sunlight, and time. Your distance works the same way. It creates the conditions for her to reflect, to miss, to reassess what you truly meant to her. Sometimes she'll realize that the connection went deeper than she admitted to herself. Other times, she may face the uncomfortable truth that she only liked the attention. Either way, you get clarity without lowering your value. This is why ignoring works better than chasing. Not because it's a trick, but because it restores balance. When you stop flooding the dynamic with constant pursuit, the natural emotional currents reveal themselves. A Stoic man isn't afraid of that process. He understands that what's meant for him doesn't need to be forced, and what falls away in silence was never truly his. By creating space, you give both her and yourself the gift of honest reflection. And often that's exactly when she starts thinking about you the most. Not in the noise, but in the quiet you left behind. Number 7, growth speaks louder. While she's wondering what happened, you're not waiting. You're growing. You're hitting the gym, building your business, sharpening your mind, leveling up. This is where the power of ignoring comes to life. Instead of pouring your energy into constant texting, chasing, or overthinking her every move, you're redirecting that energy into becoming the man you know you can be. And the beauty of this shift is that it doesn't require a single dramatic gesture. You're not trying to convince her with words. You're showing her through undeniable change. Imagine this. She's sitting there half expecting another message from you, maybe scrolling through her phone like she's done 100 times before. But this time nothing comes. Days pass. Then she stumbles upon a photo of you training hard at the gym, looking sharper, more focused. Or maybe she hears through mutual friends that your new project is taking off, that you've been out there living with purpose. That quiet transformation hits differently. It plants a seed in her mind. Wait, what happened to the guy who used to chase me? That curiosity starts to grow in the silence you've created. Seneca said, "A man's worth is shown in his actions, not his promises." You embody this when you stop waiting for her to notice you, and instead focus on making your life better, stronger, more meaningful. Stoicism reminds us to focus only on what's within our control, and your personal growth is one of those things. You can't control her reactions, her emotions, or her choices, but you can control your discipline, your mindset, your trajectory. When you truly commit to this, something subtle but powerful happens. The balance shifts while you evolve. She begins to feel the contrast. Before she was at the center of your attention. Now she's observing from the outside. You're no longer orbiting her world. She's noticing yours. And this is where ignoring becomes far more effective than chasing. Chasing gives her comfort. Growth gives her something to reflect on. When you're busy leveling up, you're not asking for validation. You're becoming the validation. Think of growth like planting a tree. In the beginning, nobody sees the roots forming underground. It's quiet, unseen work. But over time, the tree grows tall and unshakable. People can't ignore its presence. That's exactly how your evolution works. It doesn't scream for attention. It demands respect through results. And as your life expands, your silence becomes louder than any confession of feelings could ever be. This is why ignoring works better than chasing. It shifts the story. Instead of trying to fit into her life, you're building a life she can't help but notice. And whether she comes back or not, you win because you've grown. Number 8, see what's real. Ignoring her brings clarity fast. If she truly cares, she'll step forward. If it was just attention, she'll fade away. And that's the quiet power of stepping back. You remove the fog that chasing creates. When you're constantly reaching out, checking her stories, replying instantly, or trying to keep the connection alive, you can't really tell what's genuine anymore. Your actions keep feeding the situation, making it hard to see if she actually values you or just enjoys the constant attention. But when you stop, when you become still, reality has nowhere to hide. If her feelings are real, they'll show. If not, they'll disappear without a fight. This isn't about playing games or being cold. It's about observation. A Stoic man understands that clarity often comes when he stops forcing things. Epictetus taught that what's outside our control should be observed, not obsessed over. When you let go of chasing, you step into that mindset. You stop trying to convince, prove, or fix. Instead, you let the natural course unfold, and that's when the truth reveals itself. Imagine this. You've been the one initiating plans, texting first, keeping the connection alive. One day you stop, days pass, no message, no effort. Suddenly you realize something. She wasn't investing back. She was responding to your energy, not contributing her own. And if she does reach out, it's no longer a question of does she care, but rather now I see her real intentions. That silence becomes the mirror that reflects the true state of things. This is exactly what Stoic detachment looks like. It's not coldness, it's disciplined patience. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Chasing when someone isn't meeting you halfway is neither right nor true to your self-respect. Ignoring her gives the situation room to reveal itself without your interference clouding the outcome. Think of it like a pond. When you keep throwing stones into it, the water stays disturbed, making it impossible to see the reflection. But when you stop, the surface settles and the reflection becomes clear. That's what happens when you step back emotionally. The noise fades and what remains is truth. Sometimes that truth is hard to accept. Maybe she wasn't as invested as you hoped. But sometimes that's exactly the moment she realizes what she's losing and steps forward on her own. Either way, you win. You gain clarity. You protect your energy. You stop living in illusion. And most importantly, you align with Stoic wisdom. Let reality reveal itself. Don't force it into the shape you want. When you stop chasing, you stop blurring the truth. And in that silence, you finally see what's real. Silence isn't weakness. It's clarity in action. When you stop chasing, you give both yourself and her the space to reveal what's real. That's powerful. I want you to reflect for a second. Have you ever seen the truth of a situation? Only after you stepped back, what did that moment teach you? Share your experience in the comments below. Your story might help another man see things more clearly. Or if you simply agree with this message, type clarity over chasing in the comments. Number 9, break the reaction loop. Most men unknowingly trap themselves in the same exhausting emotional cycle. She pulls away a little. Maybe she replies slower, becomes less affectionate, or her energy shifts. His instinct kicks in and he tries to fix it. He chases harder, texts more often, checks her social media, overthinks every word, and tries to win her back. But ironically, this surge of energy doesn't bring her closer. It usually pushes her further away. She starts to feel like she's in control of the emotional rhythm. While he's reacting to her every move, the dynamic flips. She leads. He follows. What used to be a balanced connection becomes a lopsided dance where his peace depends on her response. Panic sets in. He loses his grounded center and ends up chasing a feeling instead of living in reality. Ignoring her disrupts that loop. It's not about playing games or being spiteful. It's about stepping out of the emotional tug-of-war and reclaiming your power. Imagine this. You've been talking to a woman who used to text you first every morning. One day, the messages stop. Most men immediately send long texts, double text, or call, hoping to revive the old vibe. But nothing changes because she feels no urgency. She knows exactly where you are, waiting. The dynamic remains stuck and her interest slowly fades. Now picture a different response. You notice the shift, but instead of reacting impulsively, you take a breath. You choose stillness. You focus on your own world, your goals, your peace, your mission. You don't chase clarity. You let clarity emerge through her actions. That silence, that calm lack of predictable reaction unsettles the pattern. She begins to wonder, why isn't he chasing me anymore? Did something change? And suddenly the power dynamic rebalances without you lifting a finger. Seneca once said, "A wise man stands firm under any misfortune and does not let his spirit be broken by it." This is exactly what Stoic detachment looks like in modern relationships. When you stop reacting to every fluctuation in her mood or attention, you stop giving external forces power over your inner state. Stoicism teaches that peace is found through discipline, not through trying to control others. By resisting the urge to chase, you're not shutting her out. You're simply refusing to be controlled by fleeting emotions. You stand firm like a rock against the waves, letting reality unfold as it should. And something powerful happens when you do this. The loop breaks. Instead of spiraling into neediness and anxiety, you become the calm center. If her feelings are genuine, she feels the silence, reflects, and steps forward. If they were shallow, she drifts away, and you see the truth clearly without begging for it. Either way, you win. You keep your dignity, your emotional independence, and your self-respect intact. That's real strength. That's Stoic detachment. Not coldness, but clarity and control over your inner world. Number 10, respect grows in silence. People don't respect what's always available and needy. When you stop chasing, you show strength. You show that your identity isn't dependent on anyone's attention. At first, she may not notice the shift. She's used to your presence being a constant, your messages, your eagerness, your willingness to always make time. But when that noise fades and your energy returns to you, something powerful happens. Space is created, and in that space, respect begins to take root. Think of it like music. When a song is playing nonstop, people stop hearing it. It becomes background noise. But the moment it stops, everyone notices the silence. They suddenly remember the melody. Your absence works the same way. It highlights the value of what was once overlooked. Instead of explaining your worth, you allow her to feel it through the stillness. This isn't about manipulation. It's about self-respect. A Stoic man understands that real power doesn't come from chasing approval. It comes from standing firm in his own sense of value. Marcus Aurelius compared the mind to a rock that the waves crash upon. The rock doesn't need to shout or prove its strength. Its stillness reveals it. When you stop chasing, you become that rock. You send a silent but unshakable message. I am whole with or without your attention. And paradoxically, this is often when respect starts to deepen. She starts to reflect. She remembers the small ways you showed up, the stability you brought, the energy that used to flow so freely. What once felt ordinary now feels rare. Respect earned through silence lasts longer than respect begged through words. Grand gestures might impress for a moment, but quiet strength lingers. It stays in her mind when you're not around. It makes her rethink her assumptions. And over time, she begins to value what she once took for granted, not because you demanded it, but because you stopped giving it away without appreciation. That's the power of stepping back with composure. That's why ignoring, when done from a place of self-mastery, earns more respect than chasing ever could. Before we move on, pause and think about this for a second. When was the last time you unknowingly made yourself background noise in someone's life by always being available? It's easy to do, especially when emotions are involved. But true respect often grows in the quiet spaces, not in the constant noise. So take a moment to reflect on your own situation. Are you giving away your presence too easily? Or are you allowing space for it to be valued? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your perspective on this. Your reflection might even help someone else watching. Number 11, clarity over chaos. Finally, ignoring her isn't about revenge. It's about peace. It's saying, I choose clarity, dignity, and calm over chasing chaos. Most men don't realize this at first. When she starts pulling away, their instinct is to chase harder, explain themselves, or fight for her attention as if more words, more effort, or more presence could fix emotional distance. But often all that does is add more noise to an already chaotic situation. You end up arguing with silence, trying to make sense of something that doesn't want to be clear. That's why stepping back isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Picture this. She starts replying slower, giving vague answers or acting indifferent. Instead of chasing, you decide to stop, not in bitterness, but in quiet strength. Days go by, and for the first time, she feels the stillness you bring. There's no more constant checking in, no more emotional reactions to her every move. That silence has weight. It forces reality to reveal itself. If her interest was real, it surfaces in the absence. If it was only built on attention and validation, it fades. Either way, you gain something priceless: clarity. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control and release what we can't. Seneca once wrote, "He who suffers before it is necessary suffers more than is necessary." When you stop chasing, you're not trying to provoke a reaction. You're choosing not to exhaust yourself over what lies outside your control. Instead of getting caught in emotional storms, you anchor yourself in clarity. You protect your peace, your focus, and your dignity by refusing to hand them over to unpredictable moods or shifting attention. And here's the irony. That very act of letting go, of standing firm in calmness, is often what reignites her attraction. When a woman sees that you're not desperate, that you're capable of walking away with composure, it shifts the dynamic. She senses your strength. She realizes that your presence isn't something she can take for granted, because strength and self-respect always leave an impression, even in silence. This is why ignoring her works better than chasing. Chasing clouds your vision, but silence brings truth to the surface. When you choose clarity over chaos, you stop trying to force the outcome and start observing what's real. And in that space, everything hidden becomes visible. When you stop chasing, you stop giving away your power. You create space, you reclaim energy, and you give both of you the chance to see what's real. Stoicism isn't about being cold. It's about being centered. And when you master that, Your silence speaks louder than words ever could. If you found this video valuable, hit that like button, subscribe for more Stoic and relationship insights.